session we discussed a few APIs, Unix APIs for dealing with the files. So moving on to the next API, that is stat and fstat. Okay, so stat and fstat. Okay, so it retrieves the file attributes of a given file. So we saw what are the file attributes. Okay, in previous module. Okay, there are 7 attributes: file name, who is a group owner. Okay, so although there were around 7 file attributes, now we can use these two APIs to get the retrieve the file attributes of a given file. Okay, so here the difference between these two functions. Okay, difference between these two functions is that the first argument is the first argument of this one stat is path name, whereas when it comes to fstat, it is file descriptor. You can see here, only difference is here we have path name and here we have descriptor, file descriptor. And the second attribute is parameter is a structure. Okay, it's of type structure. Okay, both are same. You can see the prototype. So this is a prototype. Okay, so here we have pointer. You can see here pointer, it is used to store the structure results. Okay, so this is here we are creating a variable of type struct. Okay, of the name stat. Okay, the structure name is stat and we are creating a variable for the structure, and this is of type pointer and it is used to store the structure result. Okay, and you can see here this is a header file. Okay, these are the header files we need. Okay, there is one more header file. We need one more header file, that is hash include this bar stat. Okay, this header file. Okay, this is one more header, and you can see the structure. Okay, here we are using a structure. Okay, of the name of the structure is stat. You can see that structure. So this is the structure. Okay, with the name stat, and these are the members we have of a structure. Okay, so you can see here we can use this. Okay, using this member we can get the file system ID. Using this we can get file inode number, group ID, user ID. Okay, so all attributes of the file can be accessed by the help of the structure. Okay, and the return value of both the function. Okay, the return value of both the function, both stat and fstat, will be 0. Okay, if it is success, and -1 in the case of failure. Okay, it will display some error message. Okay. So you have to remember this. Okay, you have to write in the exam. And the path name, what you specify here, it is a symbolic link file. Okay, so we'll study about symbolic link file later. Okay, so later we'll discuss about symbolic link file. There is an example. I'll show an example. So here we are opening the file 1.txt, which is already existing file, and fstat. Okay, fstat, the first parameter is the file descriptor, and the second one, okay, we are creating a variable of structure stat. Okay, it's a built-in. Okay, so you need not create this structure. Okay, so here it's a built-in structure, and we are creating a variable of that type. Okay, And here you can see we are trying to access. Okay. Member ST size. Okay, you can see here in this. Okay, ST size. So ST size, what it will give? The file size in bytes. Okay. So what is the file size? It is having 11 bytes. You can see in this. Okay. So we are having 11 bytes, including space. Similarly, you can access other structure members. Okay. For example, you can write ST, UID, user ID. Okay. Yeah, user ID. So this is a ID it is giving. Okay. If you want, you can change this. Okay, I have not changed this. This is a ID. And similarly, you can try others. ST, M time. So for time, you have to change this access modifiers. So likewise, you can try, okay, different. So how many links? Okay, ST icon N link. So it will give you number of links to this particular file. So we have only one hard link, that is one it is showing. Okay. So likewise, you can try different structure members. Okay, mode, UID, GID, A time, M time. Okay. So this is a simple program, okay, illustrating the function fstat. Okay. So the next one is access. So access function, it checks the existence and access permission of user to the named file. Okay, what it will do? It will check the access permission, what type of access permission it is having, the particular user is having, whether he is having read permission, execute permission, or write permission. So what type of permission the particular user is having to the particular file. Okay, so this is a prototype. So we need this header file, and there are two parameters. One is the name of the file, another one is int flag, what type of permission you would like to check. Okay, so here on success it returns 0, on failure it returns -1. Okay, so here flag. So what are the permissions you can check? So here you can check whether the name file exists. Okay, whether this file is already there. Okay, Then whether the particular file is having read permission. So for that we have to give read underscore OK. And similarly, this is for checking write permission and this is for checking execute permission. Okay. See here you can see. So first one is you are giving the path name. So I have given directly the name of the file, and here I am checking two flags. So these two flags I am checking whether the particular one.txt is having read or write permission. Okay. Then cout rc will display 0, okay, or it will display -1. So now you can see it is returning 0. So 0 means they are having both read and write permission. Okay. So this is one example. So moving on to the next one, the next API is chmod and fchmod. Okay. So H is missing here. It is chmod and fchmod. Here, so fchmod and chmod, it changes file permission. So we have used command, correct? We have used this command. Okay. So chmod is a command that is used for changing the file permissions of that belongs to owner, group, and others. Okay. So you can also set the UID or you can also set the group ID and even certain flags using chmod. Okay. So this is a prototype we are using. So here we need three header files. Okay. And you can see the difference between the chmod and fchmod. Okay. In fchmod we are using file descriptor and here we are using the path name and here we are specifying the flag. Okay. So path name of chmod is the name of the file or the entire path name. Okay. Here we are having descriptor and coming to the flag, it contains new access permission. Okay. What is the new access permission you want to add? Okay. For the particular user, either it can be a group, owner or other. Okay. Or you can set any special flag to the file. Okay. You want to set any flag to the file, you can specify here. Okay. That is first argument. It contains the flag argument contains new access permission or any special flag to be set to on a particular file. Flag value can be specified as a octal integer value in Unix. Okay. So octal integer value means you can specify in terms of like 777, the absolute permissions. Okay, we have studied absolute permission, right? So that is the octal integer value permission or can be constructed from the manifested constant. Okay. So we saw the permission constants, right? So when we discussed about Open API, So we discussed about some constants, permission constants. Okay. So that is defined inside this stat. Okay. So permission constants like s underscore, okay, ixgpr, s underscore iwoth. Okay. So for giving read and execute permissions for the others, group and all. Okay. So I just showed you the list. Go through that list. Okay. So here we are having an example. Look at this example. So we are creating a file. Okay, add necessary header files. Okay, creating a file temp.file, and here, okay, create. So this is a create function API for creating the file. Give the name of the file. Okay, you can give it directly or you can specify like this. So here we have specified like this fn. Okay, and specify the permission. Okay, so here this is nothing but the constant permission we are setting. Okay, that is nothing but the mode. So we are telling that user is having right permission. Okay, user is having the right permission. So we saw that create file. Okay, so the create file, it will return if it is less than 0. If suppose if there is, it is not possible to create the file, it returns -1. Okay, else it returns 0. Okay, for example, if it is not possible to create the file, then -1 is less than 0. Yes. Okay, then it will display the error message. It is not possible to create the file. Else if it is possible to create the file. Okay, then we are using here stat. Why stat is used? So stat, it retrieves the file attributes of the particular given file. So for the file temp.file, I am retrieving the file attributes. Okay, so this, what is info? Info is a variable of the type structure with the name stat. Okay, it's a built-in. Just now we discussed stat function. Okay, so for that we are creating a variable, and that variable we are specifying here. Okay, and here what I am displaying is, we are displaying the file permission. So how we are displaying? Info dot, which one will give you the file permission? That is the variable, okay, the member of the structure stat, that is st underscore mode. So this name you have to remember. Okay, so they are all the members belong to the structure stat. Okay, so this is a structure name info, okay, variable of structure stat, that is info dot member, that is st mode. Okay, and here we are using fch mode. So fch mode, what it will do? It will change the file permission. So what change we are doing? We are changing the file permission. So we are specifying, okay, we are specifying write, execute and read permission to the user. Okay, and similarly for the group also we are giving read, write and execute permission. Okay, so this not equal to 0. We are checking whether we are able to successfully give the permission. Okay, if not possible, display the error message. Okay, if it is possible to display, change the permission. Okay, use stat, okay, and display the permission. This is the old permission it will give, and this one will give you the changed permission. Okay, this one will give you the change permission. Here we are displaying the current permission. Here we are changing the permission. Okay, If possible to change the permission successfully, after chmod, display the permission. Okay. You can see here original permission. It is 8080. Okay, chmod. So this will display file type and file access flags. Okay, file access flag. And you can see the difference. Okay, original one is this, and here it is 81F8. Okay, which is in the form of octal, hexa representation. Okay, so this mode, ST mode, it will display in hexa. Okay, you can see here 8-digit hexa format. Okay.
Hello, ma'am. No clarity in voice, ma'am.
Oh. Can you hear me now? Now?
It is breaking, ma'am. I don't know. It is whether only for me or
What
not.
about others? What
It
about
is
others?
clear, ma'am.
It is clear.
Clear. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I think only you have the network issue.
Maybe, ma'am.
Okay. You can just go through the recorded video. Okay. I will upload that.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So this is example. Okay. A simple example which will illustrate, okay, how chmod can be used for changing the permission. So next one is chown. Okay. So chown, fchown and lchown. Okay. So changing user ID. So this command also we have used when we were discussing module 2. Okay. So chown can be used for changing user ID and group ID of a file. So you can use this for changing the user ID and group ID of the file. So this is a prototype we have. So they differ only with the first argument. You can see the difference is only with the first argument. Okay. So first argument, here it is path name, here it is descriptor, and again here it is path name, and remaining here it is user ID, and here it is group ID. So all the three are having user ID and group ID. Okay. So lchown function is similar to the chown function. Okay, you can see the third one and the first one is the same, except when the path name argument. Okay, here we are specifying the. Okay, so except when the path name argument is symbolic link file, and in lchown function it changes to the ownership of the symbolic link file. Okay, this we'll discuss later about symbolic link file. Okay. So here path name is clear, similar to the other APIs. Okay. Next one is UID. Specify the new user ID to be assigned to the particular file, and GID is a new group ID that has to be assigned to the file. Okay. So this is a new user ID and this is a new group ID. Okay. And if the actual value of the GID or group ID argument, okay, okay, it returns -1, okay, if it is not changed. Okay, corresponding ID of the file is not changed. You are not changing any UID or GID. In that case it returns -1. Okay. We have an example here. Here we are creating a temporary file. Okay, we are trying to open that file, and here we are changing. Okay, we can see the original. Okay, so this function will give you the file attributes. Okay, similar to previous program. So this is giving the file attributes. Okay, so here using that info. Okay, variable of structure stat, we are displaying the member, user ID and group ID, original owners. Okay, and here we are changing it to 25 and group ID to 0. Okay, and after that we are displaying it again. Okay, what is the user ID and the group ID? And here this is unlinked. Okay, once we are connecting the process to the file, and after that you are disconnecting. Okay, we are removing that link. Okay, we are not giving the link. Okay, check the output. Original owner, okay, it is having the ID 14077. Okay, and group ID is having 14077. So they both are having same user ID and group ID. Okay, so again you can see here I am trying to change 25 and 0, but it is not allowing. Operation is not permitted because to change the group ID and user ID, you need super user permission. Okay, if you are having super user permission, then you can change the user ID and the group ID. Okay, same as executing the command. While executing the command, also you need user ID, super user permission. Here also, okay, it is not allowing to change without having the root permission. Okay, but you can give this example. It's a simple example showing how chown function can be used for changing the group ID and the user ID. Okay, very simple. Only we are using stat. Okay, open the file. Okay, use that. Using that, display the file attributes and use chown for changing group ID and user ID, and after that display it. Okay. The next one is utime. So utime function modifies the access time and modification time stamp of a file. Okay. So this is also a file attribute, correct? This also comes under the 7 file attributes when you execute the ls command. Okay, the file when it is created, when it is modified. Okay, utime function modifies the access time and the modification time stamp of a file. So here you can see this is a prototype. So we need this header files. Okay, utime.h. Here the first argument is a path name. Okay, specifying the path name of the file and time. So this is a time argument. Second argument is a time argument specifying the new access time and the modification time for the file. So here there is a new access time. Okay, here we are creating a structure. Okay, the name of the structure is what? So this is a built-in structure. Okay, with this name utime_buff. Okay, which is defined inside the header file utime.h. Okay, so in stat we have used built-in structure struct stat. Here we are using struct utime_buff. Okay, so this is also a built-in structure. Okay, so using this structure you can access and you can change the modification access time and the timestamp. Okay, so if success it returns 0 and if failure it returns -1. Okay, so this is a structure, built-in structure. Okay, you can see here it has two members. One is access time, another one is modification time. Okay, you can use this structure to display this. Okay. So look into this program. Yes. So declare all the header files, and we have defined a variable of structure uTimeBuff. Okay, you are trying to create a file. This is a file you are creating and giving the permission for the user write permission. Okay, if it is not possible to create the file, display the error message. Okay, and we are trying to display the time information. Okay, before modification. Okay, what is the time which can be defined, which can be displayed by using ls minus l 7, all the attributes it will display. Okay, so if you want to execute any command, okay, you can use this system inside double quote, specify the command ls minus l mkdir or cp, whatever you want to execute any Unix command, you can use this function system. Okay, so next one, we are displaying the modification time ubuff dot modification time. Okay, this is a variable, structure variable ubuff dot mode time. What is mode time? You can see here, mode time, that is modification time. Okay, member of structure. So modification time is 0. We are setting it the time. Okay, then access time, this will give you the access time and display that. Okay, and now what you're doing is changing the access time and modification time. Okay, we are trying to change. Okay, this is a new modification time and this is a new access time. We are trying to change. If possible, change it or else display the error message. Okay. So after that, you try to display the modified access time, and what you're doing is displaying the original parameters, attributes. Okay, original attributes, all the 7 attributes. Here we are displaying after modification. Okay, we are modifying here modification time. Okay, this is will give you the access time. You can see here. Okay. So this is before modification. Okay. So these are the all 7 permissions. Modification time. So here it is created. I am creating this uTime file. Okay. It is created on October 27. Okay. On this particular time, and now I have changed. Okay. The time, the modification time and the access time we have changed. Now it is 0 January 1. Okay, so this is nothing but we are adding the offset. Okay, you can see here. I will comment this. Okay. I'm fetching the current time. Okay, current time, and for this I am adding this much milliseconds. Okay, this much milliseconds I am adding for today's time. Okay, now you see the difference. Now it is, I'm adding this much millisecond. Okay, I'm changing the modification time. So this is the original modification time was October 27 this particular time, and now it is May 29. Okay, so you can add offset value. This is offset value we are adding in milliseconds. Okay, so you can execute these programs. The next one is file and record locking. So the next, so we are done with all general file APIs. Okay, so far we have discussed all topics. Those are all APIs, file APIs, chmod or utime, lseek, okay, open, create, read, write, and all. Those are all comes under Unix file APIs. Okay, so apart from this, we have many more APIs. Okay, but you will be studying only these many APIs. So the next one is file and record locking. Okay. So in Unix system, we allow multiple processes to read and write at the same time. Okay. So concurrently or parallelly, okay, the multiple process can read and write the same file. Okay. This means the data sharing among the process. Okay. For example, if I have a file F1, okay, and there are two processes PA and PB, okay, they both can read the file F1 at the same time. Okay, concurrently, same file you can read and write. Okay. Now, so this file is reading, okay, and this file is writing. Okay, they are performing two different operations. This is reading and this is writing. Okay. Now in this case, there is a problem, correct? FA is reading the file, okay, the data which is there in F1. At the same time, it is writing. So in that case, what happens is FA may not read the content which is required content. Okay. So there is overhead, correct? So for that, to overcome that problem, okay, so to overcome that problem, we go for locking the file. So this concept we are using, that is called as locking the file. Okay. So if a particular file is if a particular process is performing certain operation, then that particular process will lock that file. Okay. For example, yeah. For example, there is a file F2. Okay. PA is writing to the file F2. Okay. Then what it will do? Since it is writing to the file, it will lock that file. Okay. And one more file, if it want to read, okay, one more process, if it want to read, then what it should do? It should wait for the release of this lock. Only if the lock is released, only then this process can perform any action on this file. Okay. So that concept we are using. Okay. So for example, it wants to write. Okay. Both the file wants to write. So what it will do? First, this process will write to the file. Okay. At that time, the file will be locked. And when the lock is released, and then this process B will write to the file. Okay. So to overcome the overhead that we have in sharing the data among the process, we go for locking the files. So locking the file is very important in the case of database. You have studied the database concepts, right? So in the database also it is very important. database can be shared by multiple users. Correct. You have studied a database can be shared by multiple users. Okay. So what happens is if a particular user is modifying the database, whether if he is updating the database, at that time the database will be locked. Okay. Only after the lock is released, okay, the data whatever is updated can be used by the all the users. Okay, so that is database locking. So no other process can read or write the data, okay, file while the process is being accessing, okay, while the process is accessing a file. So that is called as locking mechanism. Okay, so if the lock concept is not there, then what happens? This process is also writing, again the process B also is writing. So there is no point of updating this file. So okay, so that is why we are going for locking mechanism. So file locking is applicable only to the regular files. Okay, it cannot be used for other files like device files and all. Okay, there are different types of files. Okay, you have already studied. There are three types of files. Okay, basic files. So in that we can use file locking concepts only for the regular files. Okay. Basically, there are two types of lock. Okay, basically, okay, one is read lock and another one is write lock. So coming to the write lock, it is also called as exclusive lock. Okay, so write lock is set. A process is setting a write lock. Okay, it prevents other process from setting an overlapping read or write on the locked file. Okay, for example, if there is a file F1, okay, now if the process A is setting a lock, that is write lock, okay, then no other process can perform read or write lock on the locked file. So another process B cannot go for one more lock. Okay, so it prevents other process from setting an overlapping read or write lock on the locked file. So this file is locked by the process A. Okay. Prevent other process from reading or writing the locked region. So when you are locking, okay, you can lock the entire file, okay, or you can lock a particular portion of the file. Okay. For example, from 0 to 255 bytes you are locking. Okay. Remaining bytes, okay, assume that the size is of 500 bytes. Okay. It is of size 500 bytes. Remaining bytes, whatever is there, can be read or written by the, okay, can be read or written by the other process. Okay. You can either lock the entire file or you can lock the portion of the file. Okay. So prevent other process from reading or writing the locked region. So if the region is locked, it cannot be read or written by the other process. So this write lock is called as exclusive lock. That means other process cannot read or write during the write lock. Okay. So write as well as read is not possible. Next one is read lock. It prevents other process from setting an overlapping write lock on the file. That means what? If I have a file F1 and setting read lock, okay. If I am setting read lock, then what is possible? Other process, okay, for example, process B, process C and all, they cannot, okay, perform one more write lock, okay, but it prevents other process from writing to the locked region. Okay, other processes cannot write to this file, but they are allowed to lock and read the data from the locked region. So this is very important. Here, if the read lock is set, then other process can read the content of this file F1, but they cannot write. Write is not possible. Okay, but read is possible. But here both read and write is not possible in the case of write log. But in read log, you cannot write, but you can read the locked region. Okay. Hence, read lock is called as shared lock. Okay. Sometimes they may ask you explain exclusive lock or explain shared lock. Okay. File lock may be mandatory. Okay. So sometimes file lock is mandatory. What is mandatory? It's a compulsory lock. Okay. Compulsory lock is always set by the system, Unix system kernel, that is operating system kernel. So what the kernel will do, it will set some lock. That lock is called as mandatory exclusive lock. Okay. If the lock is set by the operating system kernel, it is called as mandatory exclusive lock. Okay. In this lock, this is one more type of lock. In this lock, no other process can access the locked region of the file until the runway process is killed or the system is rebooted. Okay, that locked file or locked region cannot be accessed. You cannot read, you cannot write. Okay, unless that process is killed. Okay, you have studied about an operating system, right? You can kill the process. Okay, so unless the process is killed or it is system is rebooted, you cannot read the content of the file in the case of mandatory exclusive lock. If the lock is not mandatory, there is one more type of lock, okay, that is called as advisory lock. Okay, so this lock is not a mandatory lock and they are not enforced by the kernel. Okay, even though lock may be set on a file, okay, even though the lock may be set on the file, other process can still use the read or write function on the access to access the file. Okay, so in the case of advisory lock, it's like a loose lock. Okay, not a strict lock. Okay, in the case of advisory lock, you can also perform read or write function. Okay, both read or write function can be performed by the process. Okay. So there is a scenario, look at the scenario. Process A acquires write lock and it starts writing into the file. Okay. Process B, without trying to acquire the lock, it can open a file and write into it. Okay. So this is about advisory lock. Okay. You can see here, process A is performing the write lock. Okay, and it will start writing to the file. Process B, what it will do, before release of the lock, it can open and it can start writing into it. Okay, so it's like a loose lock. There is no strict condition the lock should be released. Okay, to make use of advisory lock, process that manipulate the same file must cooperate. Okay, so there should be cooperation between understanding between the process. So in this example, process A and process B should have the good understanding between these two processes for advisory lock. What does advisory lock will tell? Try to set lock on a region of region to be accessed. Okay. Now, so if you want to lock, try to lock a region of a file. If it fails, the process can either wait for the lock to lock request to become successful. Okay. After the lock is acquired successfully, read or write locked region and release the lock. Okay. This is what is happening in the case of advisory lock. So first request for the lock. Okay. If it is successful, then lock that region. Okay, and perform read or write operation and release the lock. Okay, so this is one more. Okay. See, this is, assume that I have a file. okay, which is of 0 to, okay, around 512 bytes we are having, assume, it's an assumption, we are having 0 to 512 bytes. Process A is setting read lock on a file. So on this file it is setting, process A is setting read lock. Okay. From the address 0 to 256. From where to where? From 0 to 256 it is setting read lock. Okay. Process A again will set the write lock from 0 to 512. From 0 to 512. Okay. Again it is setting what? It is setting what type of lock? It is setting write lock. Process A is setting a write lock. Okay, so now the process A is setting how many types of lock? Two types of lock. One is read lock from 0 to 256. Another one is write lock from complete file 0 to 512. Okay. Now in this case what happens is process A will own only one lock. Okay. Actually it is setting how many locks? It is setting two types of lock. Okay. It is setting two types of lock, but how many locks will be granted? It is getting only one lock. So that is only one lock, write lock it will be getting. So that is from 0 to 512. So only one lock will be given, that is write lock. So this will not be given. Okay. Previous read lock from 0 to 250 is now covered by the write lock. So what does write lock tells? Write lock tells you can perform both read and write. Okay. And process A does not own two blocks on the region from 0 to 256. Okay, there will not be any two regions, there will be only one region. So this combining of the lock is called as lock promotion. Okay, sometimes they may ask you explain lock promotion. So this is called as, this concept is called as lock promotion. It is not getting two locks, instead it is getting only one lock. Okay. Next one concept is lock splitting. What is lock splitting? Process A is now unlocks the file from 158 to 480. What it is doing? From somewhere here, from 180. Okay, assume that this is 180. From here to here, it will unlock. Okay, it will release the lock. From 180 to 50, it will release the lock. Okay. It will now own two write locks. Now what will happen? It will have two write locks. Okay. One is from here to here, that is from 0 to 127, one lock. Okay. Again from 481 to 512, one more lock. Okay. So there will be two locks now because this is released. Okay. This lock region is released. Okay, this much is released. So in that case, there will be splitting of lock. So from here to here one lock and from here to here one lock. So this concept is called as lock splitting. Okay. So lock promotion and lock splitting. So init file provides, okay, this function, we have file control function to support file locking. So this we have already discussed function. Okay, same function can be used for file locking. It is possible to impose read and write locks on the either region or on the entire file. You can lock the particular portion or particular entire file. Okay, so this we have already seen. Okay. So this is file descriptor. This is CMD flag. So CMD flag can take these many values. So this is for setting file lock. Okay, that do not block if this cannot succeed successfully. This is for setting file lock and blocks the process until the lock is acquired. Until you get the lock, that file will be locked. Okay, and this is for getting information. Which process has locked the particular region of the file or the entire file. So this is for setting the lock. This is also for setting the lock, but here we are not blocking, okay, until we will get, here we'll block until we'll get the lock. Okay, this is for getting the information, lock information. And here we are using third parameter, okay, that is of type structure. You can see here, the structure name is block. Okay, and these are the members. There are 5 members. You can go through this. Okay, this is for getting what lock to be set or unlocked. Okay, how many bytes, process ID, and all. And what is a possible value you can get for this? Okay, so L type. Okay, what are the types of locks we can have? So there are 3 types of locks. Okay, read lock, write lock, and this is for unlock. Okay, and there are 3 more members, that is this start and end length. Okay, this is for defining the region of the file to be locked or unlocked. Okay, these 3 can be used. And possible values of ln. So ln structure variable can have these possible values. One is seek current, seek set, and seek end. Okay, and this is for getting size of the blocked region. There is one program. Here we are opening the file. Okay, we have created a variable of structure flock, which is a built-in structure. Okay, and for, okay, you know about structure. Okay, this is a structure, built-in structure with these many variables. Okay, so here what we do is we define different values for this. Okay, what are the values? For L type we set, okay, which can take 3 values. What are the 3 values it can take? It can take these 3 values. Okay, L type can take these 3 values, and we are setting what type of lock? We are taking setting read lock. Okay, for the file 1.txt, and for whence we are giving the value 0. So what value whence can take? It can take these values. Okay, so here either we can specify the integer also. The integer indicates it is 0. Okay, from 0 byte, start from 0 byte, and lock only 15 bytes. Okay, length, how many bytes you have to lock? Only 15 bytes. Okay, so if it is possible to lock, okay, so this is, okay, so if it is possible to lock the region of the file, that is 15 bytes, if it is possible to lock, then it will return 0. If it is 0, then it will display successful. A simple program. Okay, I'll display your IA marks. So this is your IA mark 56. If any doubts, please ask. Okay, when I execute this, okay, it will display success. Okay, because it is possible to set. Okay, you can lock the file, okay, and you can set the permissions. You can see here. You can see here. Okay, so the file exists. You can create. You can. Yeah, here what we are doing, we are setting the read lock to this file. Okay, how many? 15 bytes we are locking. So this is all for today.